and as anyway.
Oh, thank you. So, and then I'm going
Maybe.
to go. Oh, what else do I have to do? I need to go live on the Facebook. Where do I? Let's see. Oh no, I had it. I had it up. Okay, so go live. Okay. Just wait for a moment until it tells me that it's live streaming. Now we can start. Okay, got it right. So we're live on Facebook as well now. Okay, Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. Sharada and Saragrahi, nice to have both of you here. This is the second series of the talks on exploring the mercy of Sri Nityananda through song and Shastra. And the series did start in December. We did the first 2 classes, but then it's been postponed for a while. So now we're doing 1 class today, and then the last one will be next week. So today, I thought, well, before I explain what we're doing, I'll just chant some prayers to our teachers and pray for blessings. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Siddhantotpala Saranitya-rasikam Hangsang Vilasatmakam Audaryakya Sudama Sevakatanam Vishramba Bhakti Pradam Yajja Yukti Vichakshanam Tvakapido Vaishishta Shaktya Sada Vandeham Tripurari Namakayatim Shri Bhakti Vedantinam Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Swami Shri Bhakti Vedanta Prabhupadaya Te Namaha Gurvagyam Shirasi Dritva Shaktya Swarupine Hare Krishna Mantrena Paschatya Prachatarine Vishvacharya Praparyaya Divya Karunya Murtaye Shri Bhagavata Madhurya Gita Jnana Pradayane Gaura Shri Rupa Siddhanta Saraswati Nishevine Radha Krishna Padam Bhoja Bringaya Gurave Namaha Devang Divyatanam Suchanda Vadanam Balarga Chelanchitam Sandrananda Purang Sareka Varanam Vairagya Vidam Buddhim Shri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Sarasvatanam Varam Vande Tang Shupadam Adeka Sharanam Yashishwaram Shri Dharam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Ajunulambita Pujo Kanakavadato Sankirtanaika Pitaro Kamalaya Taksho Vishvambaro Dvijavaro Yugadharma Palo Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavataro Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityanando Sahodito Gaudodaye Pushpavanto Chitro Shando Tamonato Vandeham Shri Ramakrishna Apaya Charana Sukho Sukhado Paramanando Sundaro Subala Priyo Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindabaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Shri Gurudev Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Jai. Thank you very much for being here. So yeah, today is the Tirobhav Mahotsava of Srila Lochan Das Thakur. So the disappearance day of that great saint. So I thought today we'd look at one of his songs, and I was actually, when I was planning these talks, I was thinking of singing the song that we're going to do today at the end, so next week for like the last part, because I thought it would be a nice kind of culmination. But since it's the disappearance day today of Lochan Das Thakur, I thought today we'll sing one of his songs today that we haven't yet sung. So we know, like in the first series of these talks that I gave in September, we did study a song of Srila Lochan Das Thakur called Akrodha Paramananda Nityananda Rai. So when we did that series of talks, we did speak a little bit about Lochan Das Thakur. So we'll just give a very brief introduction to him today. So as we know, he was a great saint and a wonderful devotee of Sri Sri Gaura Nityananda. He was born in approximately 1520 or possibly 1523. I'm not sure the exact year because I've found conflicting information. So, so basically about sort of 30 odd years after Mahaprabhu was born or appeared, then Lochan Das Thakur appeared, and he became a disciple of Srila Narahari Sarkar, who Narahari Sarkar, he was a close associate of Mahaprabhu, and it's said that Narahari Sarkar participated in all Mahaprabhu's pastimes, so he was obviously very close to him. And just a little detail about Narahari Sarkar is that it's said that in Vraja Leela, in Krishna Leela, his identity is a gopi, and her name is Madhumati Saki. And Madhumati Saki is responsible for supplying honey to Radha and Krishna and their associates. And there's a nice little story that kind of ties in with Lord Nityananda, being that these talks are about exploring his mercy, is that I read one pastime that one day Nityananda Prabhu said to Narahari Sarkar, "We know who you are, so where's the honey?" And so then Narahari Sarkar, he went to a pond nearby, a nearby pond with a pot, and he filled up the pot from the pond. And when he came back, the pot was full of honey, and he distributed it to Nityananda Prabhu and to the devotees. So it's just a nice little story there about him. And so as we know, so Lochan Das Thakur was his disciple, and he wrote many devotional songs, and he's also famous for the biography of Lord Chaitanya that he wrote called the Chaitanya Mangala, Sri Chaitanya Mangala, and he wrote that in Bengali, and it was based on the biography of Mahaprabhu called the Chaitanya Charita written by Murari Gupta, and that book was in Sanskrit. So Lochan Das Thakur, he studied that, and he sort of he based his biography on that one. So the song that I thought would be nice to sing today is called well, actually the official name of it is called Sri Sri Gaura Nityananda Doya, the mercy of Sri Gaura Nityananda, and it's often called Parama Karuna, and it's a very lovely song. It's just 4 verses, and Srila Prabhupada liked this song very much. There's a really nice story of when Prabhupada taught the devotees this song when he was visiting different temples, and I'm going to read a bit of that pastime to you because it's very nice, and I've saved it to read to you. So basically, Prabhupada was traveling to different temples, and then he arrived in Atlanta, and in the temple in Atlanta, they had beautiful deities of Gaura Nitai. And so we'll read the first part is when Prabhupada arrives in the temple and sees the deities, and then the second part is in the evening when Prabhupada teaches the devotees this song. So, so Prabhupada has arrived in the temple after he's come back to the temple after being greeted at the airport, and he's been to the altar and he's seen the deities, and so now we're here. When Prabhupada turns to face the crowd, men and women separate to create an aisle down the center of the room with a clear path from the altar to the Vyasasan. Prabhupada walks down the aisle, casting his auspicious glance upon everyone as he passes. Although the temple is overcrowded, the room quickly hushes into silence as he takes his seat on the Vyasasan. So, I am very glad to see you, Prabhupada begins. I am coming first of all from Mexico City, then Caracas, then Miami. I see your temple is the best. The resident devotees burst into unrestrained cheers of Jai and Haribol. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very kind. Parama Karuna, Pahu Duijan. Two lords, Nitai Gaura Chandra, Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They are very kind, you see. They have appeared just to reclaim the fallen souls of this age. So they are more kind than Krishna. Krishna, he is also very kind. He comes to deliver, but Krishna demands, first of all, surrender. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does not demand. As he tries to explain the unfathomable mercy of Lord Chaitanya, Prabhupada becomes overwhelmed by transcendental emotions. There is a silence, then he continues, he is so kind. Prabhupada's voice chokes up and he cannot go on. Tears begin to stream down his cheeks. Some devotees can understand that Srila Prabhupada is overwhelmed by the compassion of Lord Chaitanya and is experiencing transcendental symptoms of Krishna Prema. Everyone begins chanting japa, waiting for Prabhupada to continue. And this is one devotee called Satyaraj speaking. He says, I remember sitting across from Dhira Krishna, close to Prabhupada's asana. We both looked up and saw tears shoot out from Prabhupada's eyes. It seemed as though the tears were darting out of a syringe, landing on both Dhira and me. Feeling the wetness of his tears, Dhira and I glanced at each other, and I'll never forget the look in Dhira's eyes when he said, I'm glad you're experiencing this too, because if I didn't have confirmation from someone else, no one would ever believe me. I felt the exact same way. I've always carried this with me for my entire devotional life. It was one of my most outstanding experiences with Srila Prabhupada, the type of thing you don't forget. Prabhupada attempts to carry on to overcome the emotional ecstasy and exclaims in a faltering voice, so take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and be happy. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada lapses into silence, unable to continue. He is visibly weeping. Several devotees exclaim, Hari Bol, as everyone bows down simultaneously. And then later, Prabhupada went to his room at that point, and then later in the evening, he came back to the temple room. And after he took his seat on the Vyasasan, he says that he wants to teach a song, Parama Karuna. The Atlanta devotees pass out sheets of Parama Karuna, and Srila Prabhupada begins chanting with his kartals in a slow rhythm. Parama Karuna Pahudui Jana Nitai Gaura Chandra Sabha Avatara Sara Shiromani Kevala Ananda Kanda. None of the devotees can follow. They are fumbling through the song because they don't know it. Although it's included in the Vaishnav songbook, it has never been sung before. After a few moments, Prabhupada stops and asks if someone can accompany him on mridanga. Several mridanga players join in, but they can't seem to find the right beat. Other players get up and take turns on the mridanga, thinking that certainly I can do it, but nobody can pick up this mridanga beat. Finally, Prabhupada stops them and says, give me that mridanga. Someone brings him the drum, but after testing it, Prabhupada says that it sounds dead. Quickly, another drum is brought forward. Again, Prabhupada rejects it, saying that it's also dead. Finally, one devotee brings Srila Prabhupada his personal mridanga, covered with a red and gold cloth. After testing this drum, Prabhupada finds it satisfactory. Then he says that he will demonstrate how to play the mridanga beat. The devotee rewinds the tape recorder that has been recording Prabhupada singing, and he accompanies his recorded singing on mridanga. Bhajo bhajo bhai chaitanya nitai sudridha vishwasa kori vishaya charya sera se majia mukhe bolo hari hari. Seeing Prabhupada play mridanga is a real treat for everyone. They watch in complete wonderment as he plays along with the taped recording of his voice and kartals, just like professional studio musicians do. After singing this bhajan by Nityananda Das Thakur, he explains its meaning. Pahu means Prabhu. A shortcut of Prabhu is Pahu. Prabhu means Lord or Master. So these two Prabhus are Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is addressed as Mahaprabhu, and others are addressed as Prabhu. So these two Prabhus, Nityananda Prabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, are very merciful. Some devotees feel that Srila Prabhupada is giving a purport to his irrepressible ecstasy that overwhelmed him earlier in the day. Parama Karuna means extremely merciful. Prabhupada continues with his explanation. Extremely merciful because Krishna is also merciful, since he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his original feature. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also Krishna, but he is acting as a devotee. He is not acting as Krishna. He is acting as a devotee of Krishna. So it's quite a nice pastime. And I think, and maybe any devotees on here can correct me or add to this if they know, but I think I've heard my Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktivedanta Tripurari Swami, speak about this. And maybe he was possibly there at that time in the Atlanta temple. I'm not sure, but I think I've heard that while Prabhupada was staying in that temple for the days that he was there in the mornings, when they would greet the deities, then they would sing this song every morning. Srila Prabhupada would lead this song of Parama Karuna. So yeah, it's really a lovely song. And I think, so now would probably be a good time to, I'll share the screen so that you can see the words. So I thought we'll just go through the verses and speak a little bit about what Nityananda Das Thakur is saying. And then at the end, maybe we can just sing it briefly. So I'll just go to share screen. Advanced sharing options, no, oops, I don't know, sorry. Oh, here we go. Portion of screen, share, and oh, it's in the right box already. Hopefully you can all see that okay. So yeah, where are we? So yeah, it's a really beautiful song. So the first line is saying, we heard a little bit there about how Srila Prabhupada explained it, and there's in a lot of the songbooks you can find purports where Prabhupada has explained the meaning of this song. So it starts Parama Karuna Bahuduvijan Nitai Gaura Chandra. Supremely merciful, Parama Karuna. Saba Avatar Sara Shiromani Kevala Ananda Kanda. One thing I read which I thought was very nice is that this Kevala Ananda Kanda means that they are exclusive fountains of mercy. Maybe I can just, oops, if I make the box a bit bigger, then I can try to fit in the English as well, maybe. Not sure. So you can see the translation of this verse at the bottom there, hopefully. The two lords, Nitai Gaurachandra, are very merciful. They are the essence of all incarnations. Sabha avatar, Sara. Sara means like the essence, right? And the crest jewel of all avatars, Shiromani. And it's saying here they introduced a process of chanting and dancing that is simply joyful. So extremely merciful. So when I read this, one thing that I thought of about them, you know, when Lochandas Thakur is saying that they are the essence and the crest jewel of all avatars, it reminded me of a verse from a really wonderful song of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur called Sri Godruma Chandra Bhajan Upadesh, which some of you might be familiar with. And it's such a wonderful song. It's really one of my favorites. But in the it's about 20, I think it's 20 verses. It's quite a long song. But in the 11th verse, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he sings, Avatara varam paripurna kalam paratattva ihatma vilasamayam Rajadhamara sambhuti guptara sambhajago drumakanana kunjavidhum. And so the first line, Avatara varam paripurna kalam, he's saying that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is the best of avatars, the most excellent of avatars. And this paripurna kalam, within him, the consummate expansions of Godhead exist. So, and I'll just in the word for word translation, where are we? So paripurna kalam, complete in all aspects. So I thought we'd look a little bit into like how and why that is so. How is it that he is the best of all avatars? And you know, even we can say, you know, even compared to Krishna himself. But so, you know, Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. I'm just going to reach over to read a little bit from this lovely sacred preface, where my Guru Maharaj explains so well how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can be said to be even more than Krishna himself, because you know, we often hear that you know, Krishna Leela is not complete without Gaura Leela, and you know, Krishna has this name Rasaraj. He's the king of all the tastes. But if he's not Gaura, he's not tasting everything. So he can't be Rasaraj until he becomes Gauranga. Because he wasn't able to taste the love that Radharani had for him. So I'm just going to read a page from Sacred Preface, where Srila Tripurari Swami Maharaj explains this concept very beautifully. Yeah, just to explain how Mahaprabhu is, you know, even more, how he is this crest jewel of all avatars. So in the Gita, Krishna promises to reciprocate in kind with those who approach him. The gopis' love and Radha's love that much more is so great that Krishna found himself unable to live up to his word. He confesses this truth to them in the Bhagavad. The debt incurred I cannot pay in a life of Brahma's time. More than this, what can I say? Your love for me itself is more than I in mystic way. Krishnadas Kaviraj tells us that it is here in these core texts embraced by all Vedantins that we find Sri Chaitanya. While other verses that speak more directly about Sri Chaitanya have been cited to support his divinity, it is this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam that is without a doubt the most compelling scriptural evidence, even while it makes no direct reference to Sri Chaitanya at all. Srimad Bhagavatam is a lengthy treatise spread over 12 cantos, consisting of approximately 18,000 verses. The verse cited above is but one of them, one that overtly says nothing about Sri Chaitanya. However, it is the quality of this verse that must be considered, as well as its placement in the text. It appears at the height of Radha and Krishna's Rasa Leela. The 5 chapters covering this Leela are the climax of the Purana. The text leads up to this Leela in 28 chapters and essentially reflects back on it in the remaining 57 chapters. It is at the conclusion of the 4th of its 5 chapters, Rasa Panchadhyaya, that this verse appears. At this point in the Leela, the consummation of Radha and Krishna's love for one another. Krishna bows to Radha's love, and only then does the rasa dance go forward unabated and without interruption. Theologizing on the basis of this verse, wherein Krishna reveals his mind to Radha and the gopis, Chaitanya Vaishnavas come to the logical conclusion as to the genesis of their deity, Sri Chaitanya. Suddenly, the creditor has become the debtor. Radha's love dethrones Krishna. Thus, he must make it clear to the religious world who actually reigns supreme. Commenting on this Bhagavat verse in his Brihad Bhagavatamrita Tika, Sanatan Goswami points in the direction of Sri Chaitanya. Allow me to follow his hint to its logical theological conclusion. In this verse, Sri Krishna says that Radha's virtue, sadhuna, her saintly love for him, is her own reward. Looking deeper, because Krishna cannot reciprocate in kind with the love Radha embodies and approaches him with, he is left to eternally sing of its virtue the world over. To do this, to make a feeble attempt to repay her, he must himself become a sadhu devoted to her. Instead of telling her that her saintliness, sadhuna, is her own reward, Krishna tells Radha that he will arrange for a sadhu, sadhuna, to reward her by making others into her devotees. And this is precisely what he does in the form of Sri Chaitanya, and he does so once in every day of Brahma. Krishna promises Radhika that once in every day of Brahma, he will appear as a sadhu and sing the glory of her love, enlisting others in her service. Jai Radhe, Jai Gaura Hari. So it's a really wonderful explanation there of what Krishna does when he becomes Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And I just thought it explained that that second verse, the first verse, quite nicely. How one can say that he really is the best of all avatars. So the second verse. So the second verse he's saying, Bhajo Bhajo Bhai, Chaitanya Nitai, Sudritha Vishwasa Kori, Bhajo Bhajo Bhai, my dear brothers, just worship Chaitanya Nitai, Sudritha Vishwasa Kori, with firm conviction and faith. Vishaya Charya, Sera Se Majia, Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari. Vishaya Charya, give up. I've got the word for word here. So Vishaya Charya means like giving up sense gratification. Sera Se Majia, and absorbing yourself in that mellow of worship. Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari. Just chant Hari Hari. Chant Hare Krishna. They're thinking that, so how does the translation? My dear brother, I request that you just worship Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda with firm conviction and faith. If one wants to be Krishna conscious by this process, one has to give up his engagement in sense gratification. One simply has to chant Hare Krishna, Hari Hari, without any motive. So again, it very much ties in with Chaitanya and Nityananda, how they're, we have this nice verse that we recited at the beginning from the beginning of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, this Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityanando Sahodito Gododai Pushpavanto Chitro Shando Tamonudho, that they've these two brothers, Gaura and Nityananda, they have appeared simultaneously on the horizon of Gaura, just like the sun and the moon. And they wonderfully dissipate the darkness of ignorance and wonderfully bestow benediction upon all. So this darkness of ignorance, we spoke a little bit about it before in some of the previous talks, that my Guru Maharaj, he explains that this darkness of ignorance is like that the cheating religion, that meaning that when people engage in spiritual practices, but really for sense gratification, for the calm or the artha, dharma or the moksha, the impersonal liberation, basically with selfish motives. And how Gaura and Nityananda have come to dispel that darkness and give the fifth goal, the prema purushartha. And it also corresponds with this verse in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, the second verse, the verse that starts how completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. This Bhagavat Purana propounds the highest truth. So it's very nice. So the second verse, this Vishayacharya Sera Se Majia Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari. So just chant without any desire for sense gratification or these mundane desires, but just engage in this very joyful process. And then the third verse, Deko ore bhai. Ore bhai means like dear brothers, my dear brothers. Deko ore bhai. Deko, just see, my dear brothers, just see this. Tribhuvane nai. There's none in the three worlds. Emuna doyala data. That have such merciful qualities. Let me just check the doyala. Emona means like such as these. Doyala data, charitable givers of mercy. So my dear brothers, you just see this. Within the three worlds, there is none like these charitable givers of mercy. Pashu paki jhure. Pashu means animals. Paki, birds. Jhure, weeping. The animals and the birds, they weep. And the pashana, the stone, vidare, melts. Let me just check that I've got that right. Vidare, pashana vidare, the stones melt. Shuni, upon hearing, janra guna gata. Shuni jara guna gata. Upon hearing of their merciful, upon hearing their qualities. So upon hearing the qualities of Chaitanya Nitai, the birds and the animals cry and the stones melt. So it's quite an amazing description, really, but that just hearing of their qualities, these occurrences happen. So we know that when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going through the Jharkhand forest, that just, by his association, his presence there, then all the animals in the forest, they gave up their natural enmity towards each other, and they began to chant and dance and feeling so much love. And also there's that lovely story of when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a little boy, a Nimai, and he found the puppy. Maybe some of you know this story, that there was a litter of puppies, and little Nimai, he chose one puppy that was his favorite, and he took the puppy home to Sachima. Sachima wasn't very happy because she said, "No, I'm playing with the dogs are dirty," but he really wanted to keep the puppy, and so I think she did let him keep him, but somehow the puppy ran off when Nimai went to take bath, and he was upset. But then there's it's said that because of the association with Nimai, that the puppy, he was chanting, and that it said that he was chanting so much and experiencing such symptoms of ecstasy that he actually gave up his body. He left his body, and then I think it said that some people saw some like Vaikuntha chariot, something like taking the dog to the spiritual world. A very really sweet story. Once when my daughter was a baby, we got her this little soft toy of a dog. We got it made. There's this place called Build a Bear where you can like get a dog made, and then you can record the sound to go in the dog. So I recorded the dog chanting Hare Krishna. So when you squeeze his paw, he chants Hare Krishna, and we called him Mohini dasi. So he's the servant of little Lord Chaitanya. Anyway, I'm digressing a bit, but yeah, point being that but just by the association, I mean, these stories are from the association of Mahaprabhu, that these incredible stories about the animals. But Nityananda Thakur is saying here that even just by hearing about the qualities, and the stone melting is also that example of when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was staying in I've forgotten the name of the place, Brahmagiri, is it? Brahmagiri in Orissa, where after Lord Jagannath had his Snan Yatra, when he couldn't be seen in the temple for a couple of weeks, then Mahaprabhu went away and he stayed in Brahmagiri at the temple of Lord Alarnath. And when he first went before Lord Alarnath and offered his Dandavat Pranam, the stone in front of Lord Alarnath actually melted with the imprint of Mahaprabhu's body. And I've not been there myself, but I've heard that you can go there and actually see this. You can see the melted impression of Mahaprabhu's body. Maybe some of you have been there and seen it, but it's quite amazing. So yeah, it's a really lovely verse, and I love the way that, I mean, probably like some of you like Sharada may understand the mood better than me, but the way that it would just sound so nice, the way he's saying "Dekho re bhai," like it just seems such a nice, friendly mood. Like, my dear brothers, just try to see this. The way he's explaining, it's like he's really conveying it. So the fourth verse, Sangsare Majia. So Prabhupada says at this point in this fourth verse that Lochanda Thakur is talking to his own mind, and he's saying to his mind that, you know, you are samsare majya, that you are entrapped in materialistic sanctification. This samsar, rohili poriya, means like falling and remaining in this samsar. Sepade nahilo asha, so you have no aspiration or no hope for their lotus feet. Apana karma, due to my bad karma, your own bad karma, he's saying to his mind. So apana karma bhunjaya shama, bhunja, you are being punished. Shamana means like Yamaraj, Lord of Death. So he's saying, due to your own bad karma, you're being punished by Yamaraj, the Lord of Death. Kaho ye Lochanda das, thus says Lochanda das. I'll just move that down a bit so you can see. So it says, but Lochanda das regrets that I am entrapped by sense gratification, since I have no attraction for the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. Then Yamaraj, the superintendent of death, is punishing me by not allowing me to be attracted by this movement. So we know, like, he was a really wonderful saint, and we know that when these great saints say, you know, write these things, that it seems more like, you know, talking about us rather than them, because we know how wonderful he is. But when I was reading this earlier, I was thinking it's kind of reminiscent of the second verse of the when Mahaprabhu is saying Nam Namakari Bahudani Jasarva Shaktis Tatrapitani Amita Smarane Nakala Etadrishi Tavakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishami Hajni Nanuragaha. He's saying, oh my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benedictions to living beings. Thus, hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies, and there are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. so it's kind of like that, and we know from that second verse of the Shikshashtakam that it corresponds with the stage of actually I think the second verse, it corresponds with 3 stages. Actually it corresponds with sadhusanga, bhajana kriya, and anartha nivritti. But particularly when you hear this durdaivam, that he's saying that it's his misfortune, that's like as if one is saying the anarthas, that because of my misfortune or my bad karma, like Nityananda Thakur is saying, that I don't have that attraction, and it kind of it makes me think of how the impressions that we experience are so important. The impressions that we experience are creating our future, and our previous impressions have created our present. Like there's in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 15th chapter, Krishna is saying that that the living entity carries different conceptions of life from one body to another. And he says, I think in the 9th verse of the 15th chapter, he says, the living entity, thus taking another gross body, obtains a certain type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. And so our inclinations that we have in this life are caused by our previous impressions. And similarly, like, so we can have material impressions or bhakti samskars, but in spiritual impressions, and we want to have more spiritual impressions. And Krishna says in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita to Arjun that that one who has practiced spiritual life before, that they automatically become attracted to the yogic principles in this life, even without seeking them. So we see how our impressions are like carrying on, but the more spiritual impressions we have, then the more the more progress we can make, the more attracted we will be to those things. So that's what I'm really praying for. And obviously there's so many ways of getting spiritual impressions, but probably I think the most at least speaking personally, and probably for you also, the strongest impressions that seem to come from being in the association of great saints, like our Guru Maharaj or Sri Padmanabh Maharaj. Many times I've heard from them, and it's really affected the heart so much that from that moment on something is different. I just thought I'd just end the descriptions with a verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which says, it's from the Madhya Lila, 22nd chapter, verse 54. Sadhu Sangha Sarve Shastrakaya Lavamatra Sadhu Sange Sarva Siddhi Hoya. The verdict of all revealed scriptures is that even by a moment's association with a pure devotee, one can attain all success. So I pray that we can you get more of that. We're in a very fortunate position, actually. I feel we're so fortunate because every week our Guru Maharaj is so generous, and he gives his time and his presence every week. So we have that opportunity to ask any questions and to hear from him. So we're very lucky, and I'm really hoping that this year we'll actually get to be in his physical presence in Poland in July. That's what I'm hoping, that we'll be there and actually get to be with him. But yeah, so that's kind of just going through the verses. Then we'll maybe we can just sing the song through simply, and then afterwards we'll see if anyone's got any more or any comments or questions. But maybe we'll just sing the song first. So I've got some cartels, and unfortunately I wish I didn't have to keep everyone muted, because I would really like to hear, but I think because of everyone coming in at different times, it will be very difficult. So we'll have to keep muted, but please do sing the response, and that would be very nice. So Srila Nityananda Thakur ki jai. Parama Karuna Bahudvi Janna Nitai Gaura Chandra Parama Karuna Paudri Janna Nitai Gaura Chandra Sabhavatara Sarashiromani Kevalananda Kanda Sabhavatara Sarashiromani Kevalananda Kanda Bajo Bajo Bhai Chaitanya Nitai Sutrita Vishwasa Gauri Bajo Bajo Bhai Chaitanya Nitai Sutrita Vishwasa Gauri Vishayacharya Serase Majia Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari Vishayacharya Serase Majia Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari Dekho re bhai Tribhuvane Emona doyala tata Dekho re bhai Tribhuvane Emona doyala tata Pashu Pakhi Jure Pashana Vidhare Shuni Jara Gunagata Pashu Pakhi Jure Pashana Vidhare Shuni Jara Gunagata Sansare Majia Rohili Poria Separe Nahilo Asha Sansare Majia Rohili Poria Separe Nahilo Asha Apana Karama Punjaya Shamana Kaho Yelo Chanadasa Apana Karama Punjaya Shamana Kaho Yelo Chanadasa Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Gauranitai 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 Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo Shri Gaura Nityananda ki jai Shri Chandas Thakur ki jai Shri Gurudev ki jai Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol Gauranga jai. So yeah, I don't know if anyone has any comments or anything to add, or questions or anything before we finish up?
I just wanted to say thank you. I was very happy to be live because I was working last year, so I couldn't be live almost never, but I was listening to your lectures and it was happy because it's my favorite song, which Hari Priya can say that it's true, because I'm usually when we usually when we are meeting like in our place or Krishangis, then I'm usually singing this one because it's my favorite song, so it's perfect timing. Thank you very much. Beautiful lecture, nice quotation, and it's in sacred preface. I also remember I was thinking you will actually quote something else, because that was, I think, from 6th chapter maybe you were quoting Guru Maharaj, and there was a little bit farther, I think he was also writing that like thanks to Nityananda, actually our like Sampradaya started because all these coward boys, they started all the preaching and everything. So yeah, he's great.
I did actually read.
Did you? Okay, I was following.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I was going to say not today, but another time. I think maybe in the first series of talks, I remember reading that bit actually. Yeah,
so you didn't want to repeat
maybe the ones from September. Yeah. But yeah, it's also one of my favorites as well. It really is one of my favorite songs. And actually, when my daughter Naika, now this year she will be 12, but when I was pregnant with her, actually every day I was singing this song to her in the womb, and I mean, I think she was already a devotee, but like always her whole life she's always shown a lot of love for Nitai and Gauranga. So I like to think maybe it was a good thing to sing that to her, you know. And yeah, so thank you so much, Saragrahi. Thanks for being here. And yeah, thanks to everyone. So I guess if there's anything else, or we shall.
Hey, Haribol. I just wanted to say thank you. It was super inspiring, and I especially liked today how you explained this part, like Krishna being Rasaraj, and how Krishna is not complete without Gauranga, and Gauranga is not complete without Nityananda. So I really like that part. It was explained you explained it in a really beautiful way. So thank you, and thank you for the class.
Thank you. It's just the Guru Maharaj's mercy, really, because I'm just hearing it the way that he explains it. But yeah, thank you. Thank you. I don't know, Sharada, did you have something?
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for beautiful. I don't know if you can hear me. I've got my generator on.
Yeah.
It was just so nice to hear this one, because I mean, I'm used to hearing on one of my CDs from a former Prabhupada disciple, Ranshul Prime. He sang this as well. I mean, everybody, you see, it's beautiful the way you sang it, because as you say, your impressions, the impressions from your life come through. As you say, the impressions from your bhava come through, and that happens with everybody's different impressions and different from their heart. It comes through. So that's why it's also difficult to translate into one specific word, you know, word for word, because some people have a different word for it, whatever it is. So parama could be, you know, literally, you know, something else, or it could be supremely blissful, for example. So, but if someone else has a different impression or something from their heart which feels it's even more blissful than supremely or different, you know, but still the same thing, it comes out as a different word. So translation is slightly different, and the way people say it, some people add different verses to put in their bhava, you know, in between some of these songs. You know, it's very interesting how people's individual feelings can come through, and there's a license for that, because this is that kind of devotional text. It's a very special text because it's from Lord Chaitanya, that we can have that license in a sense to put our own feelings into it when we sing it or when we translate it, maybe to a certain extent. Obviously we have to stick to what is there from Sanskrit or from Bengali, but we can still to a certain extent put our own things into it. And I enjoy, say, for example, even a different tune, I can relate to. For example, I could relate to that, or I could relate to a different tune that I listen to, which is, Parama Karuna, Padujana, Vitai Gaurachandra, in a very meditative way, in a meditative mood. So you have a different tune. So, you can actually, it depends what mood you're in, you can sing it in a different tune.
Yeah,
it's all beautiful, isn't
True,
it?
yeah.
How flexible it can be. But thanks, you brought that out, and you're talking about previous lives, etc. So thank you for that. Hare Krishna.
Oh, thank you. Hare Krishna, thank you. Yeah, because I think when we were reading at the beginning that example of when Prabhupada taught the devotees, I think Prabhupada would sing it in that 6-beat. So saying the devotees couldn't really follow on Mridanga, it was difficult for them. So, and I think also, when I first started hearing this song, it was on an album of Gaurangi's, this Nitai Pran album, and similarly I think it was a bit like the melody that you just sung. It was a bit more meditative, and sometimes when I'm singing it on my own, I prefer to sing like that, but for call and response, for some reason I can't do it like that with the call and response, so I have to do it slightly differently. But like you say, it's all nice, isn't it? All different melodies. But but thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Thank you. My pranams to all of you, and I hope to see you all again very soon. And just thank you so much for being here. You're all very, very encouraging. And love to you all. Gauranga, Hare Krishna, Jai Nitai.
Mohini dasi ki jai.
Bye.